Hello everyone, this is Jotto, bringing you a Hearthstone Deck Tech. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I decided with the upcoming patch and wipe I'd go over my tournament rogue deck that's been doing extremely well. It's made the finals and a top 8 in the Mana Grind tournament since the beginning of beta. So I'm going to be talking about this rogue spellpower aggro deck. It's designed to put pressure on early through efficient minions, mainly 2-drops, and win mid-game through spellpower and direct damage, things like Gadgetzan Auctioneer, Azure Drake, Headcrack, things like that. So, if we go into the 0 and 1 mana cost cards, only 2 spells, Shiv, which is used as a combo starter, and Backstab, also used as a combo starter. One of these can be used for direct damage or card draw, and Backstab is used mainly for minion removal. Well, obviously it can only damage enemy minions, however, it is sometimes used just as a combo starter as opposed to removal. Shiv is much more versatile throughout the whole game, whereas Backstab helps start your combos on things like Defias Ringleader. Onto the 2 mana cost cards, I'll start with the minions. We have 2 copies of Defias Ringleader, 2 copies of Fairy Dragon, 2 copies of the Acidic Swampoos, and a singular copy of the Iron Cow. Now, Defias Ringleader is a very solid 2-drop. If you're going second, you can coin this out on turn 1 for the combo that everyone hates because you get a 2-3 and a 2-1 along with it. But mid-game, it can also be used with Shiv as a combo starter on turn 3 or Backstab on turn 2. And then later on in the game, it's a very explosive 2-drop that requires a board wipe. Then we have Fairy Dragon, my other preferred option for going with second on first turn. Now Fairy Dragon is very good against certain classes. They have some extreme issues dealing with this card, partly because a lot of classes rely on spells as removal, and this has to be removed by a weapon or a minion. It is a very versatile card. It gets in for a lot of damage. My Fairy Dragons tend to clock in at about 6 or 9 damage if I get them down early, and against certain classes it can be as much as 12. Now the 2 Acidic Swampoos, this looks like hate on Rogue, it is slightly, but weapons mess this deck up a lot in general. Things like True Silver need to go, Sword of Justice has to go because I need to remove things. Warriors, not so much of an issue, but when they get buffed, I expect Acidic Swampoos is going to be good against that class as well. But the main ones are Rogues and Paladins. They cause a lot of issues. The last one is Doomhammer from Shaman, which essentially makes me lose the game if it's played, so I need the uses for that kind of thing. The singular copy of Iron Cow, I don't play any of the silences in this deck because I have other ways of getting rid of effects like Sap and Assassinate, but the singular copy is very good against things like Twilight Drake and Questing Adventurer. It's nice to have 1 copy. I don't need 2. Most of the time you need 2 silences, but this deck does not need it. Onto the 2 mana cost spells. Now, Eviscerate, Headcrack, and Sap. Eviscerate is used mainly as direct damage. I don't like using this as removal because it gets away from my burst damage a bit. If I keep this as direct damage, I can clock in about 12 damage on my final turn and just get them out of the game straight away. Very good direct damage, benefits in spell power in a massive way. Also, Dollar on Mage plus this equals a dead Sen'jin, that's quite relevant. It's just a very good versatile card in general. I do prefer it as direct damage as opposed to removal, but sometimes I have to use it as removal. Headcrack, the core of all spell power decks. Now, Headcrack is just continuous damage. I use it to curve out every turn. I try and get Headcrack in every turn as long as it's in my hand. Unless I have to remove something, it will be played every single turn, and it clocks up. The average Headcrack for me will do 6-8 damage throughout the whole game, which is very good. It's just 2 mana a turn, and it just gets the damage in every turn. The 2 copies of Sap. Now these deal with a lot of things. Sap is a massive tempo play, as if I have Gadgetzan on the board, for example, it's not a 1 for 0, as this is the problem with Sap half the time. However, Sap actually makes big minions practically useless against you. I mean, you can sap their Sen'jin to time walk them essentially, so that they have to play the Sen'jin again. You already got in for some extra damage because you have your early game minions. Or things like Ironbark just never get played again because you sap it and then kill them. It's the same with things like Druid of the Claw. If they put it in their taunt form, you sap it, and if they put it in their charge form, you just eviscerate it. It gives you a lot of options of how to get rid of things. It's a very good rogue card, very underestimated. Onto the 3-drops. I play 4 3-drops, 2 copies of Dollar on Mage, 1 copy of Big Game Hunter, 2 copies of Perdition's Blade, and 2 copies of Fan of Knives. Now, Dollar on Mage is arguably the most powerful spell power minion right now, along with Azure Drake, because it has 4 health. You can play this on turn 3 without running the risk of losing it, and it's also a very good combo starter as it has good stats and spell power. Big Game Hunter is a 4-2 for 3, it's the opposite stats wise, but stats is not why I play this. The reason I have one copy of this is so that I can use my assassinates on targets when I need to, as opposed to having to save them for late game. Same with sap. It also helps against Twilight Drake openings. If I don't have an assassinate, I don't really want to sap it because they can play it and it's bigger. If I have silence, it's awesome, but Big Game Hunter is often used in this situation because the silence can be used on a Sunwalker. Sap is more useful on other things that don't have battle cries that can get more benefit, like Ascension, for example. And Assassinate, while it's a good out to Twilight Drake, I'd rather just get rid of it and get 4-2 for aggression. Now, the 2 copies of Perdition's Blade. This is, in my mind, the best rogue weapon. It is incredibly good. Late game, you combo it, it does 4 damage straight up with the hero power 5. And early game, it deals with a lot of things. This card, for example, can deal with Defias Ringleader openings very easily, deals with Fairy Dragon, it deals with Raging Worgen, it deals with a lot of things early and a lot of things late game, and it's good for burst damage in general. The Fan of Knives. Now, Fan of Knives is a cantrip, which makes it very good. I draw a card out of it, but with Spell Power, this is a very powerful board wipe. I can Spell Power this, get 3 damage on board. I've had 4 damage with Spell Power before, and I've had all my Spell Power minions. It's a very effective board wipe. With Gadget Zan, it draws me 2 cards. It's good at refilling your hand. Very good board wipe spell. Now, I don't have any 4-drops. I just have 3 5-drops. Now, this is my mid-game and late game. Azure Drake draws me a card, gives me some spell power, very versatile. If they remove it, I'm a card up because I drew a card and they didn't. Unless they drew a card off theirs, like Starfall, for example, or Starfire. Now, Gadgetzan Auctioneer. This is a very overpowered card. I expect this to be nerfed in the next patch. It's a 5-mana 4/4, and every time you cast a spell, you draw a card. Normally, I play this, I play a spell, draw a card. If it's removed, I'm okay with it because drew a card, it's like an Azure Drake. If it doesn't get removed, I just play a bunch of spells and I just win the game. It's a very, very overpowered card at the moment. I hope they nerf it. It draws way too many cards for rogues. Miracle Rogue is the main one that abuses it, but even a deck like this can abuse Gadgetzan quite a lot. And the final card in the deck is 2 copies of Assassinate. Now these are used just to get over things with Taunt mainly. Can be used for anything I can't get over, like a Water Elemental because I don't want to get hit by that thing. Or Ascension if I need to, or an Ironbark, even though I'd rather sap these targets. Assassinating them at the end of the sap is good. And something weird, which you don't really think about, is late game Assassinate is a very good combo starter. And normally, if I have to use Assassinate as a combo starter, it's to end the game. Same with Sap, just later game, and it deals with it permanently. So, that was my deck tech on my tournament deck that I've been running. It has quite a good record right now on ladder. I've played about 100 games with this, probably more, and I'd say I have a win rate of around 70%. It's a bit sketchy against Paladin healing decks and Druid, but I can still power through those matchups most of the time. I just need head cracks early. Anyway, this has been Jotto. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, put it in the comment section below. But as for now, this is Jotto, signing off.